Excellent. Okay. I'm using the built-in AI companion to see if it will make a
It'll help it all.
subject list, so I don't have to go back through and
Oh, and
do
timestamp
all
or
the
whatever.
topics, do all the topic things. So we'll see if it works.
Okay.
Freaking know. I don't freaking know. You outside or something?
Yeah, I'm outside.
Gotcha.
Is it okay?
Of course.
Okay.
I mean, I wish you were on video. I think it makes the video better, but you got to do you, bro.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm just, yeah, sorry, but I feel like I'm enjoying the last time we did it this way. I really liked it. Like I'm basically outside right now, with no shirt on in this,
Gotcha. Well, that
in
could
the,
be a thirst trap. We could get some girls and some
right?
guys joining, bro. I mean,
I
look,
know, right?
look, that's you're not doing your argument is not going well, bro. Like get fully naked, we can get some fucking subscribers, bro.
I
Let's
know,
fucking do this shit. Take this shit. Oh, I just saw something I wanted to show you on so on Reddit, I don't know, 6 months ago or something, a new 9/11 like investigation subreddit opened,
uh-huh.
and it has not been functional. Like I'm not allowed to look at it. So like
Really?
so the mm, okay, hold on. Let me turn off my background 1 second
Sure.
because otherwise it's messing with it. um um just back off for a second. Okay, so like for instance, let me get my finger by it. There's the link in that subreddit for the Brett Weinstein Ron Johnson
Oh,
interview. Okay,
uh-huh, uh-huh,
it's right there. Now watch what happens when and this is how it's been since it came out. This isn't just like something today, some weird thing. It's been
uh-huh,
like this. So if I click the link,
uh-huh.
boink, that's what happens.
Sec, I'm trying to, okay. So it's just like, no, oh,
It does not allow people to actually look at it or to use it.
interesting.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, at first I noticed it and I thought, oh, it's just a weird glitch or something. Da, 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 when it first the subreddit first came out.
Hmm.
But then it's maintained that way since then, and so now I don't think it's a coincidence anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
every other goddamn, I'll do a different link. Every other link immediately opens the thing.
Yeah, except this one for some weird reason. Not so much.
And it's every single post for that subreddit. It's not just that one or something. It's every single one. I can read
Interesting.
the subject line, but then that's it. You can't actually go in and participate and put comments and stuff like that.
Hmm. Hmm. It's did you check out that the Weinstein Senator Johnson
Yeah,
discussion?
I did all that one. I did all of the Jack Kruse one you just sent.
Oh,
I do them
awesome.
at 1.5 or 2x speed,
Okay, okay.
whatever
Yeah,
my
yeah.
brain can handle
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
at the time. And
So let's if you don't mind, let's talk about the Weinstein Johnson thing first, and then we'll get to the or we can just jump into
yeah,
the thing you sent me because that was fucking brilliant.
which one? The milk one?
Yeah, the milk
Yeah,
one,
the milk one was great. That was
dude.
great. There was a couple of things I hadn't seen before, like the shape of the shape, the
Uh-huh.
menorah or whatever it is, I guess,
Oh
or
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
Damn, I had never noticed that. And then
Yeah,
wow,
I
I
didn't
guess
know
that's
that either.
why they bulldozed that shit right after, like
Dude, right?
damn.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Bro,
It's just like
get rid of that
9/11.
9/11 steel and get rid of that
Yeah,
fucking
dude.
that area, get rid of that area.
It's like so
Um
obvious.
oh yeah,
It's
that was crazy. I had never, and I've been trying to stay up on this shit. I'm listening to Candace Owens. God damn it!
yeah,
I
right. I know. Me
like
too.
motherfucker. I'm trying to stay on top of this shit.
I never thought I would say that, but here I
I know
am.
me either.
Yeah, yeah. Life is strange that way. Oh man. And did you see? So I well, okay, so there's this site or this YouTube channel that I check out sometimes. It's called Agrippa's Diary.
Hmm.
I don't know if I've sent anything from you or you
No,
checked it
I'll pull it up.
out.
I'll check it out. I got to
Okay.
maintain my YouTube PhD.
Okay. Yeah, right.
What's it called? What's it called again? Agrippa?
Agrippa's Diary, I think.
Okay. Yes, I see it.
Um, okay. So, and it kind of like goes into
Subscribe.
like the occult, um, some secret society stuff, but this is more like um whereas you and I come from it, like, there are different so many different angles to come at this stuff from.
Mm.
And whereas you and I are, I'd say, are somewhere weirdly in the middle. We're like very moderate, I would describe us as, even though many people we know would probably disagree with that.
This
I would,
this channel looks awesome, by the way. Keep going.
yeah, no, it's good. It's good, but I was actually bringing it up to say it just released a video about Candace
I
Owens.
see.
Yeah, and it was like the first time that the person whose channel it is used their own voice as opposed to some sort of
AI thing.
whatever thing that they have that is a really good narrating voice.
Hmm.
And so it's actually this person's voice. So it was kind of it was interesting to hear the person's real voice because it was almost like like some things you almost don't want to see because you don't want to meet that band you love.
Don't meet
Because
your heroes. Yeah.
don't meet your heroes, exactly. And not that this guy was a hero, but I felt like whereas you and I are moderates in this way, whereas like I know people who are a lot more extreme than me, and by that I really mean by moderate I mean we more or less stay we're against groupthink. So we're trying not to become a member of any groupthink, even though
Yeah, and
we
I'm basically against think.
or well, right. So
To take the UG route. I mean, that's what UG got across to me
mhm,
is the thinking mechanism doesn't solve any problems. But the thinking mechanism itself says, one, there's a problem, posits a problem, and then posits a solution that's going to be created by thinking. And that
mhm.
the whole thinking thing is a big fucking scam. Anyway, keep going.
Which I remember when you brought that up, it was interesting because I remember when I left Michigan and went to the new school, like in that time period. So I was like a junior in college. Uh, I was really into that. I was saying to a lot of people like thinking is the enemy and thinking is the problem. And I remember like this girl I met when I first got to the new school, and me and her like got hot. We smoked some weed together like the first day we hung out, and she was into whatever. She was like someone that had like all the like piercings and tattoos, and like back then it was like the late '90s. It was, even though I guess it's in vogue now again. Back then that was when that became kind of like alternative or whatever and cool. And me and her were having like this long talk, and I went on this long thing about how thinking is the enemy. And she was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Mm-hmm.
She did not know what to make of it.
Well, our egos can't stand to hear that because the ego functions through the thoughts.
Yeah, exactly.
It's if you want the ego to be around, you need to think, and you need to be there. You need to be there and be having experiences and be sorting things into good or bad. You need to be kind of active in it. And I have to say too, otherwise UG's ghost will come and kick me in the nuts. The next thing we need to say, the first thing you say is thinking is the problem, thinking is the enemy. And then the second thing we need to, that's mandatory to say is there even thinking? We need to question the existence of the very thing that we're positing in the first sentence, because we have to keep blowing up the previous sentence that we said. It's the only way. If we're doing the UG version, if we're running the UG program, I just could feel him about to kick me in the nuts if I didn't question the existence of thought itself, because we all act like thinking and thoughts is real and I'm doing it and stuff like that. Prove that shit. It's going to be very hard to prove that there's love, that there's God, that there's thinking. It's gonna be very difficult to prove any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, keep going. You were
Oh
smoking some
yeah,
weed with a girl.
yeah, and I was like, so when you said that to me, whatever, like a week or two ago, it really like it had, I don't know, it just hit me deep because, and again, it's another reminder of how you and I are both like star children or whatever,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
whereas like almost no one else I know would ever quote unquote think that
No, or say it or
or
something. Yeah,
say it,
yeah.
yeah,
No,
because it sounds so blasphemous.
it's
Just so,
threatening. It's
yeah,
threatening to our knowledge system. All of our
and our
knowledge depends
identity.
on
Hmm.
language and
Hmm.
thinking, and so does all, and the ego identity.
Yep,
Therefore,
totally.
that's also your culture, the different nations, the different worlds, the different gods. All that shit is dependent
Hmm.
on um Maya, the illusion, the great ultimate illusion. Maya meaning to measure, that I'm just robbing UG. Maya meaning
Hmm.
to measure, which implies the self, that because what are you measuring from? From me. The
Hmm.
TV is over there 10 feet from me.
Hmm.
So to measure, to create knowledge, the a priori assumption is that I exist, because
Hmm.
that's who's measuring, and that's what we're measuring
Right,
from.
right,
I'm here, you're there. It creates the separation. The
right.
knowledge is the separation
Yes.
between. Um, it puts separation in between a thing that's actually one unitary movement.
Hmm.
There's not, it slices the basketball, and once you slice
Hmm.
the basketball does not function. It can't bounce anymore. It loses the air. It's no longer functional anymore. But now
Yeah.
you can study it. See, now you cut the basketball now. Now you can look inside the basketball. Look what's in there. Ooh.
Right, right, right. And that's what I've heard. I think the term science like originally comes from, is to break apart
Yes, exactly.
into, right,
Yes,
its pieces and dissect.
absolutely right. That's what you're
Um,
doing. We're breaking apart things that are, it's actually a one unitary whole. You can't
mhm,
actually separate the stimulus from the response. You can't. You have to artificially say the stimulus is coming, and then right here it's going to turn into the response. There's no actual barrier there. Or
mhm,
like, as a therapist, what I say is we don't choose our emotions. Our emotions are triggered by our environment. We do not. It is a unitary response, a unitary movement. Something
mhm,
happens in the environment and it triggers the emotions. We do not control our emotions. We can control our behavior afterwards with like a lot of like willpower and
mhm.
thought and planning and emotional processing, and I don't know, whatever the fuck works.
Well, a
But the
greater understanding of,
Sure, but the
right.
environment is the emotion. Or
Well,
or for people that are religious, I'll say emotions are a message from God,
mhm, hmm,
that we're not choosing them. Somebody, the
mhm.
environment or God or the universe, what the fuck you want to believe in, it's
Or
causing it to arise. It's causing it to arise. And then
and
we deal with it afterwards at that point. But there, at no point is there actually a division where there's the thing happens and then we like wait and then the emotions come or something like that. No,
mhm,
it happens. It flows. It flows. The wave pushes the surfboard. The wave pushes the
mhm.
surfboard. The wave doesn't go and then the surfboard goes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I
And
keep interrupting because the coffee's
no, no,
kicking in, bro.
no, please, please. I
No, back
love
to
it.
the
I
girl.
love it.
Back to the girl. Because
Oh,
you
oh,
didn't finish. You didn't finish the story.
I know, she was, I was more bringing her up because that's when I remember espousing that idea to her
And people freaking
against
out.
thinking, and she was like, "What the fuck?" And I ended up like, me and her ended up like, kind of like seeing each other and hanging out, and actually she was she I remember because this was like 97, and she had Behold a Pale Horse, and I always just like, I would look through her books, and I would like found that one. I was like, oh, this looks interesting. What's this about? And she
Great
was like,
cover.
oh,
That cover was just so amazing. I can still see it in my head. Oh my
right,
gosh.
right. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, this is amazing, and what a cool title,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And she was like, and I'm like, what's this book about? and she was like, "Oh, this is a crazy book. It's all about, it's basically saying that everything is run and controlled by this small grouping of people." And I was just like, "What are you talking about?" That was like the first time I'd ever
Wow.
like heard of that,
Hmm.
and was just kind of like, I it wasn't like, "Oh, that's can't be true," like most people would. I was like, "That sounds crazy to me. That sounds far-fetched," but I was like, what do I know? And and but but yeah, I was more bringing her up because that I just remember so well saying to her, being like, "I'm really against thinking, and I'm trying not to think, and I'm trying to," and she was just like, "What are you talking about?" And you were like the first person to say that to me
Hmm.
all these years later, and it was just like another reminder of how, like, I don't know, you're just one of the few people I can talk to with so few to little introductory paragraphs.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
most people, if I say something, they're like, wait, what did you
Yeah,
just
like
say?
what? Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and then I have to go back and explain this whole fucking thing so that they could understand that
And
whether they
maybe they're
agree.
not even listening at that point
Yeah,
and
totally.
anymore. And God damn it.
um, but yeah, I wanted to talk about the Weinstein and Senator Johnson 9/11
Yes.
thing because, honestly, when I watched it, I guess the things that struck me about it were that I was surprised that Brett Weinstein knew as much as he did about 9/11,
Hmm.
because I really didn't know where he stood on that,
Mm. Mm.
because because he's, and I know COVID woke him up, but it sounds like he was knowledgeable about that stuff before COVID. I could be wrong,
Hmm.
um, but I feel like, and he's such an articulate person. It's like
Hmm.
impressively articulate.
Mm.
That well, I thought that it was interesting. A lot of the little factoids that he was bringing up, the anomalies and weird inconsistencies, that it almost like validated some of them, that he was willing to talk about them. Whereas I was like, you know what? I looked deep into that stuff so many years ago
Yeah.
that I'm a little bit like, I'm just not as, I just haven't gone as deeply into it in a long time. So
Hmm. Hmm.
all these things that I just assumed were true, but in the back of my head, I was like, I don't know if,
Right. Right.
but to hear him say it, it was like, all right, he's not going to bring this shit up like Barry Jennings, or,
Right. Right.
or the other explosions that happened, or what really hit the Pentagon,
Hmm.
or like the BBC reporting Building 7 going down before it, like 20 minutes or whatever before it went down.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, wow, that's, if he's saying that, like, I was just, in the back of my head, I was always like, who knows? That could just be like misinformation or disinformation people are putting out there, because you'd have to assume, I assume that a certain amount of this conspiratorial stuff is put out there by, the powers that be,
Yes.
you know, and it, and so it's just, and I view Brett Weinstein as, and again, it's hard to prove intent, so I don't know his intent. Um, so I'll just throw a fastball down the middle and assume that he's not a bad actor,
Hmm.
that he's just someone that, like all of us, as smart as he is, he's just a flawed human being.
Hmm.
Um, that because he got into like this whole fight with like Whitney Webb, when Whitney Webb was like throwing some shade at Trump right after he won, because like the first month or two, Trump did a whole lot of shit that, in my opinion, I would say was done to establish credibility amongst his, his real following, whatever, like free that Ross Ulbricht guy,
Mm-hmm.
release more JFK files, come out and publicly being like, we're going to release the Epstein files, all this shit that was like, he like had that meeting with Zelensky in the White House where he basically called a spade with Zelensky. And he's like, you got no cards to play, motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
You're coming here to beg and grovel and you're acting like you own the place. Like it was all this shit. Like I feel like it was like, all right, establish this street cred. And then once I've established that street cred, I'm not going to do anything about it of real substance. I'll release some JFK files, but we're not going to go into them. Nothing's going to be done about it. We're going to say we're going to release the Epstein files, but we're not going to. I'm going to dress down Zelensky, but I'm not going to stop that. I'm not going to stop supporting them. All these things, like it's, which is really the way that I would argue the powers that be intelligently operate is that they want to establish like a limited hangout. You know that term? A limited
Yes.
hangout?
Yes.
Right? So just be the limited hangout. Like Trump is a limited hangout, in my mind. He's like, hey guys, this is the best you're going to get. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. That's way better than any of my predecessors, but you're not going to get everything you want and stop being crybabies about it because this is the real world. In the real world, the good guys don't win. It's just a powerful win. And maybe eventually some of the powerful fall because there's some other powerful thing that makes it fall, and he's like, I'm not here to take down the deep state. I'm just here to buy more time for the deep state. I'm here to be like, all right, hey, some JFK files, but it's not going to change anything. I'm going to make sure that like there's some big shit going on that you and I don't fully know and understand, even though we might know and understand some of it better than most.
Mm-hmm.
There's still so so the whole idea of the non-bullshit, like the reality of the negative term conspiracy theorist, I would argue is that like you don't have all the links in the chain of evidence. So like, but you're willing and you have to accept that. Like, unless you're an insider who's at the tippy top, who's really running everything. And even then, you don't have all information, because you have underlings, processing that information and help if you're competent, and so no one knows everything, and the idea of a conspiracy theory is like, look, like the Charlie Kirk shit. Like there is no direct evidence that Israel did that, and when you say, or that 9/11 was an inside job, like there's no way to prove that conclusively. But what you can prove is all these weird anomalies that don't add up and at least render the official story to be bullshit, or at least highly questionable enough. So we're stuck in this limbo, where we don't really know what's going on, but but we can tell certain things, but we don't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if we spend enough time, we can find better sources, and leave behind the lesser sources. And someone like Brett Weinstein, for me, was very helpful during COVID, because when I thought I was like going crazy and no one else was, I knew pretty much like 99% of people I knew were like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And dude, just shut up and get the vaccine,
Mm-hmm.
and just wear your mask. And a million Americans have died. This was a serious, and I'm like, I was pushing back on every fucking thing. And almost every person I knew was like, what the hell are you talking about? And like Brett Weinstein was talking about not all of it, but a lot of it, and in a very articulate way from a certain like scientifically informed perspective that I didn't have. And that corroborated a lot of what I was seeing. And it made me feel less crazy and less insane and less irrational because basically I was like, wow, if this guy's seeing it and he's so intelligent and articulate, and like at a time when, I was like, I didn't want to get the vaccine, but I was like, I don't know, maybe at some point, maybe I'll have to get it because maybe if I don't get it, I'm going to die or something. Because at that point, I'd gotten into this conspiratorial stuff through 9/11, and I was more like focusing on foreign policy and other things like that. And that was part of why I had a breakdown at right before the lockdowns, is because I was like, shit. I'm like, there's so much I'm ignorant about in this area of medicine, science. Like, I don't have good sources for this stuff like I have for foreign policy and shit like that. And I needed to work on that. And I eventually found those and did the work to find those sources. And Brett Weinstein was one of those people that it wasn't just me. There, like, if you look in his comments section, like there are a lot of people. One of the most common comments was people saying, "Thank you. You saved my sanity," because everyone else thought I was crazy. And then to hear you say these things, I realized I wasn't crazy.
Right.
And in time we would be proven correct. But it was helpful for him to do that. So again, establishing street cred, like Trump, and I don't necessarily think he's a bad actor. Maybe I'm open to being wrong about that. And the way he dealt with Whitney Webb really rubbed me wrong. And it's almost like,
yeah, because she's fucking awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome.
If you're having a problem with Whitney Webb, like, take a second and breathe for a second and figure out what the fuck's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, geez.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why, like, Jack Kruse likes Whitney Webb, but he has some issues with her.
Well, he has an issue with every motherfucker he talks to. That motherfucker, man. Anyway, okay, I won't interrupt.
We can go into Jack Kruse now because I think it's fascinating. And what you're saying, go. And let's go with that for now.
It's the same thing that always happens when I listen to him talk. The way that he talks is so rude.
Yeah.
That what happens, and obviously very brilliant, intelligent person. Okay. So this is me trying to be as realistic as possible. What I always come away thinking, though, it's the same thing every time. Motherfucker, if you actually believe this shit and you want it to get out to people, you better start changing your delivery.
Totally.
Because God damn it, you're shooting yourself in the fucking both feet.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing?
Yes.
Like, you cannot, if you want people to listen, you can't talk this way. So then I'm like, okay. Is this, because then my therapist brain comes out. Is this just how he is? Right? Is this just how he is? And it's like, okay, or is it more nefarious? Is it more nefarious where it's like, it's by design? It's not a bug, it's a feature that like either he's delivering things in a way on purpose where people are going to kind of be like, okay, this guy's super smart, but I don't want to listen to this fucking asshole. Or is that why he's kind of let alone why he's alive?
Right.
Because they're like, you know what? Like his, what do they call that when they, like when they make a movie and they show it to like a few people before?
A sneak preview?
No, like a focus group.
Okay.
It's like you take Jack Kruse and put him in a focus group of 100 people, and at the end of it, 99 of them are like, I stopped listening to him because he's such a fucking asshole. They're like, oh, let this guy say whatever the fuck he wants. Yeah. No one is going to listen to this motherfucker. You know what I mean? It's like, damn.
I do.
So either he's shooting himself in the foot on purpose, because that he's kind of a little bit of a narcissist or something, which would make a lot of sense. Or he's doing it on absolutely on purpose for some really nefarious reason. I think it's the first one. I think it's the first one. It seems like very consistent, and it seems like that's what his actual personality is like. And if I were talking to him or having a conversation, that's what I would say. I would say, wow, you have so much knowledge, you have so much amazing points. Why do you think people aren't listening to you? And do you think it has anything to do with your delivery method? And my fear is that he would go, no, people are fucking stupid, and I'm the only one with the real story, and people don't want to fucking listen and learn. They'd be like, all right, that's what I thought you were going to say. Bye. Keep enjoying no one listening to you.
Well, okay. So let's go with that. Because I do think I think he's like he's on. I think me and him have a lot of similarities, and that's why I guess I can totally understand what you're saying and agree with a lot of what you're saying. But on the other hand, because I'm similar to him in certain ways, I feel like there are ways that I can humanize it and make a sympathetic narrative for him.
Oh yeah, that's my first part. Is that he's just a narcissistic. We all have various levels of narcissism. His just is a little bit stronger than the average population. If he was my client, I'd be like, oh, this is a really smart, intelligent guy. He's got a little bit above average narcissism, and it's not going to work well for him in some of his personal relationships. He's going to blame other people instead of looking at where he might be contributing to the issue, like I wouldn't want to be his girlfriend and get in an argument because he's never going to take responsibility. He's never going to apologize. He's never going to be like, yeah, you're right. I was kind of, but you were kind of doing this, I think it's harming him in his personal relationships in terms of how much people will be open to him talking. That's me trying to be as generous as I possibly can with him. I don't think it's actually the nefarious thing. I don't think this is like, what kind of character can I create such that people will kind of think I'm an asshole, a really smart asshole or something. I don't think he's doing that. I think it's his actual personality.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
Yeah.
That's what I definitely think too. But
bro, just put it in a McDonald's Happy Meal and then everybody will eat it. Just put it in a Happy Meal. Like, fuck.
You see, so I think, again, me and him have certain similarities and why it may, and again, remember I said to you, I think last time or two we spoke, I was like, you have a much better bedside manner than I do.
Yeah, and so therefore I'm sensitive in that when somebody else doesn't have a good bedside manner, I'm like, what the fuck,
and I'm someone that sometimes can have an amazing bedside manner in a way that most normal people who we could say have a generally speaking, a better bedside manner than me, like I can have an empathy towards a wounded rabid dog in a way that most quote unquote nice, good people can't. And so I'm just saying, like, I get it. Like there's something, and I feel like deep down you have some of this too, because I've experienced with you throughout the years, like at least moments when you kind of start to open up a little bit about some of your anger. Because I would say a big difference between you and I is you are like so much more well-adjusted than I am to the world. And more importantly, or more directly, you're much more well-adjusted to the profoundly sick society than I am. Whereas me, I'm like, I don't even pretend.
Yeah.
Because if I do pretend, it becomes so obvious, or at least to me, it becomes so obvious that I'm being not being authentic, and that I'm, you know, going against myself, and I'm sacrificing authenticity. You know, the two basic emotional needs are the need for attachment and the need for authenticity. You know, and 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 for someone like myself, I'm like, fuck this. I'm just going the authentic route. And then there are like a few times when I'm around someone, whatever. Let's say I'm around like I don't know, a belligerent homeless person, you know, something who's like, I'll kill motherfuckers, you know, all of a sudden I'll be a little less authentic around that person because all of a sudden it's like, wait a second. Or, you know, if an angry police officer is like, you know, it's like, all right, I gotta, authenticity is gonna take a back seat right now for survival's sake. And
Yeah.
I'll just, you know, and so I'm just saying everything is relative, and to me, Jack Kruse, I guess I very much empathize with him because I'm the wolf, and I see, and all
Right.
the things we're saying about him is ultimately like ways like he's the wolf,
Yeah, he's very wolfy.
very wolfy.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and some people they don't like that, and they're like, fuck that, and they're like, you're playing something out of tune. You know, that's out of tune, and it's like, well, why do you need everything to be in tune? And it's like, what do you mean? Of course, who doesn't want everything to be in tune? And it's like, well, not everything has to be in tune. You know, like some of us, and it's not that we're just trying to cause trouble, but some of us actually like some dissonance.
Right.
You know,
right.
Like if you use dissonance correctly or interestingly with music, I think it makes music so much more fascinating and interesting as opposed to like I love the Beatles, but I also liked it when they started doing some weird shit.
We also like Dillinger Escape Plan. Like,
yeah, exactly,
yeah,
exactly. So I feel like in a way he's kind of like a Dillinger Escape Plan in that way, where a lot of people just want some sort of like Beatles,
sure,
or pop music.
I wanna hold your
hand.
Yeah,
exactly. And he's like, if you want that, there are plenty of other places to get it from, and go get it from there. Because that's not why you're coming to me. You're coming to me because I'm going to be that fucking bulldog that's going to tell you the 100% fucking straight truth. And it might not be nice. It might not be what you want to hear, but you can be certain I am not lying to you, you know? And you could say that maybe that's some sort of nefarious strategy, even though I don't think it is. I think he's like me, where he just can't help himself. And it's like, for better or for worse, he's just gonna, you know, say his exact thoughts and feelings, you know, in a raw, unfiltered way. And some people are really gonna dig that, and then some just aren't, you know? And I feel like I do feel like, and on top of that, okay, so you and I are not gonna make fun of certain people in an unironic way. Like, you know, like you and I can do like whatever, make dark humor, but we don't really want to hurt people's feelings, you know, but we just, you know, like that Shane Gillis thing you said.
I mean, it might happen, but yeah, I actually really, I have a strong belief about comedy that I think everybody, including me, should be made fun of all of the time. Make fun of everything. It should be like, it's a holy thing. It's miraculous. It's the great equalizer. It's the opposite of fascism, you know? It's just, and I don't care if people get pissed off. I don't care if people get riled up. I don't. I don't. Don't watch it. Don't watch it. Or if the person, the comedian is actually not funny, they will not survive. If they're actually funny, I don't get who. Then there's something profound going on. Actually, if the person is funny and what they're saying is upsetting to me or somebody else, then actually it's a sign that something really profound is going on. It's a sign that they're saying something that's really, 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 really important.
Exactly. So you see, like right there, you see, this is why you and I are so damn good together,
Hmm.
because we complement each other well. You know, I'm the fucking wolf, and you're like, I don't know, like some sort of like we're both star children, we're both like wizard star children, and I'm like this fucking, like we, it's just a good compliment. Like, whereas if it was just me and Jack Kruse, it would be two people like that,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Although it'd be entertaining. That'd be so fucking entertaining. Holy
Yeah, I
shit.
think it could be entertaining,
Damn.
and but I do think, like, say, like what you were just saying right there, like that if you end up doing it and doing it well, there's something so profound about it,
Yeah.
that, and I do think that that's what he achieves, because he's not compromising at all, like at all. And I totally agree with a lot of the things you were saying. And I've seen people write to him and say, hey, like say basically what you said. Hey, if you get more flies or with
Yes.
honey,
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
and he's basically like, I don't give a shit.
Well,
Fuck
yeah,
off.
exactly. You can write his response. I can write down what he's gonna
Yeah.
say before he
Yeah.
says it. And in that way, that's to me that uh, 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 he's therefore predictable.
Yeah.
And that is a weakness. You want to be unpredictable in terms of war. In terms of
Mm-hmm.
the art
Mm-hmm.
of war, you need to be unpredictable. Once your opponent can predict your move, you're fucked.
Mm-hmm.
It will be used against you in a court of law, right? Or
Right.
in a fight or something. It's like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because they
that's
know
why
your
it's
strategy and
the
approach.
serious martial art people are like, you've got to stay calm because once you get pissed off, all you're going to do is rush in and attack. And the
Yeah.
other person, if they can stay calm enough to realize, oh, this guy's got a hot head, he's coming in, then you're predictable. It's so fucking easy. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
why the greatest all the awesome boxers, they're circling each other, jab here, jab there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're measuring, they're looking for their opening. You don't just fucking dive
Like
in.
Mike
You know what I
Tyson. Like
mean?
Mike Tyson used to do that.
Oh
Mike
my
Tyson used to
gosh.
dive right in, but he was an exception to the rule. I can't think of another fighter that did that and was so successful at it for so long. You know.
Well, he dove in at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
He's a counter puncher. He
Mm-hmm.
was one of the greatest ever. So he's waiting for them to do something, and then he's hopping in close, bam,
Mm-hmm.
bam, bam. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's not just doing that right away, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
measuring the other person. He's doing it in response to their movement. You know what I mean? He's
Mm-hmm.
responding to their movement. All those
Mm-hmm.
boxers train that until it's just like truly automatic. It's impressive. I mean, boxing as a fighting art is really up there. It's truly impressive. The real boxing training is fucking just like kickboxing. Kickboxing, another one I have a lot of respect for. I have a lot of respect for Brazilian jiu-jitsu,
Mm-hmm.
and but just straight up boxing, holy crap!
Mm-hmm.
It's really impressive in terms of like the way that they train and just get things automatic where you're just moving. You know what to do: counter punch, move, dodge, go under. Okay, this, throw a 2, throw a 3. Like, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
it's so impressive to me. Anyway,
Yeah. But I'm just saying, I was just bringing up Tyson in the way of like he was an exception to the rule.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, and I think it was like whatever, like he was a teenager,
Yeah.
he was full of, probably had some terrible life experiences, that he was able
Well,
to
and then he got a
channel,
secure attachment with Gus.
right?
And like you're talking about, you need the attachment part. And so now he had a figure that actually cared about him
Uh-huh.
and that was one of the greatest boxing coaches of all time,
Yep.
Gus D'Amato.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and then boom, you can kind of focus that rage from, I'm sure, a
Totally.
variety of traumatic experiences.
Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly. And like Professor X did to Cyclops in the
Absolutely.
X-Men,
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
You know?
Yes.
And you know, I'm someone that never found that, that
mm-hmm,
Professor X,
mm-hmm,
to
mm-hmm,
help do that. And in a
mm.
way, in some ways, like experiencing Jack Kruse has had some of that effect on
Hmm.
me. Because it I get and like whenever I share him to introduce someone to him and send a video, I always say to them like, look, he's a real asshole. He's a real
Yeah,
salt,
right. Like warn people.
yeah, I warned them. He's a real asshole. He's a salty dog. He is not a nice guy. So you're going to get thrown off by that. And you're going to probably want to disregard what he's saying, or it's going to be hard for you to receive what he's saying because you're going to be so thrown
Yes,
off
correct.
by his approach.
Yes, absolutely right.
And most people are like, oh, thanks for the heads up, but they still can't get past it. Even
Or
though
they
I give
don't
them
even watch it. Or they don't even watch it, right?
or
You know
they
what I'm
don't even
saying?
watch it. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that is the vast majority. At least 50% of people don't even want to go outside of
Their
their,
comfort zone.
yeah, just because it's probably not going to confirm my bias, and that
Yep.
doesn't sound very fun.
Yeah. And I think I was talking about the Andrew Huberman thing last time about that part of the brain that like it's almost like this muscle in your brain almost that
Mm-hmm.
that whenever you go outside of your comfort zone, that grows. And whenever and by refusing to go outside your comfort zone, it shrinks. So the people who are very fat, oftentimes that shrinks in them versus high level athletes, it's much bigger in them
Mm-hmm.
because they force themselves and push themselves out of their comfort zone. And he was saying, like, if you love taking ice baths, while that would seem so out of the comfort zone for most people, if you're one of the few people that actually likes ice baths, then that part of your brain will not grow from the ice bath.
Right,
So,
exactly. Right. Yes.
which is super interesting, and so most people like that part of them is so shrunk that they don't even know how to go back to, and they don't see the value in building that part of their brain, even though arguably it's probably one of the most important things. And bring back to
It's
Jack.
what we do as children. Pain causes growth. And
Mm-hmm.
and so therefore our approach to pain is everything. And you see it with kids before we've just fucked them up with the ego and thinking.
Mm-hmm.
How many times do they fucking fall and wreck themselves learning to stand up, walk, and run? How many hundreds of times? You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Right.
Do they
Yeah.
ever stop? Is no. Are they doing it for money? Are they doing it because they
Right.
feel bad? Are they
Right.
doing it because they feel good? No, I gotta fucking do this. Like I'm like, fuck you. It's
Mm-hmm.
this insane drive towards uh, um their inner desire, and the
Mm-hmm.
pain and the failure have absolutely nothing to do with whether they're going to succeed. I mean, it's profound. It's profound watching how much kids, even with the stuff, not even around pain stuff, but around just stuff that they like. It's like, I'm just going to watch it over and over and over and over and over, or I'm going to listen to that song 1,000 times in a row, and I'm never going to fucking get tired of it. They have
Mm-hmm.
an ability there. I think humans have an ability, but we lose it as we become egos and thought based,
Uh-huh.
and we start having ideas, as
Mm-hmm.
Buddhism would say, that pain is bad and that
Yeah.
we need
Yeah.
to avoid it. Therefore, but if it's bad, I need to avoid it. And it's just such a wildly incorrect um assumption or belief. Pain is what causes growth. So
Yeah.
if we figure out a way to go towards it, and I think what it is for most people is there's usually one or two areas that there's a problem in. In most areas, we're doing great, but there's one or
Mm-hmm.
two areas that just keep fucking us up, the karmic loop or
Yeah.
the karmic cycle, because we're not
Mm-hmm.
willing to go towards pain in that area because of some belief or some past trauma or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the fuck it is, or just being efficient. I think a lot of it comes down to being efficient. When our life is
Mm-hmm.
on the line, oh, we'll change. I'll do it right now. Fuck you. I'll do it right now. It's like, oh, damn. Like, why were you waiting? Well, I just want to fucking do it. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like
Understood.
right now, I'm still shirtless and I'm fucking cold.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I am cold. I'm barefoot on the grass, walking in circles while we're talking,
Yeah.
and I'm fucking cold. But I guess it's like knowing that builds that part of the brain, and that the cold is really good for us, and that
Yes.
that vitamin D is so important, and pretty soon there's going to be no vitamin D available because we live at too northern a part of the world. So vitamin D within a few weeks is going to be gone. So I'm just like stocking up on it while I can. All these things motivate me that even though I'm really fucking cold right now, I'm still just shirtless and walking around barefoot,
Right.
with my pants rolled up because everyone is, around in heavy coats and all that, and looking at me like I'm fucking crazy, and that's, but at some point you start to like, it's
yeah, but then you go back inside and you feel like $1,000,000 fucking.
Exactly.
Holy shit. That's why
Totally.
I do it. If
Yeah.
it didn't feel good, either just at some point the body goes, okay, fine, we'll heat up, or you start to feel good and then you go inside and then it's just like, oh my God, like, oh, you can feel the vitality. You can feel it.
Yeah, totally.
Holy crap.
Yeah. And to most people, they can never do it. And because to go outside their comfort zone, they're just like, no fucking way. Like, why am I doing this?
Right.
It's like, it's really good for you. It'll make you feel great afterwards. They're like, whatever. And so, and I feel like someone like Jack Kruse, I really do think like, so there's a difference between being nice and being kind. And I think in my mind, Jack Kruse is one of the kindest human beings that has ever lived, but he's also one of the least nice people that's ever lived. Or not ever lived, but he's not nice. He's not nice. And I feel like the difference is the desire to be nice in that way is based in part is more motivated by that need for attachment more than the need for authenticity. And he's being so kind in that he is really cracking the health code in a way I don't like. He's building upon what other people's work. So it's not just all him. He's just putting this shit together and synthesizing it in a way like you and I are trying to do that with all this stuff we're talking about, and that's why it's like, look, this isn't just about conspiracy theory. This isn't just about history. It's not just about philosophy, whether it be Eastern or Western. Like, there's so many things that go into this that I feel like what you and I are trying to do is, and this is something I've always really appreciated about you, is you're one of the few people that is not just sticking to this one identity, that is like, no, I'm a musician. No, I'm a philosopher or whatever, where it's like most people are like that.
Yeah.
Most people are like, here's this one or two things, and that's what I am. And me and you were kind of like, we always agreed, like, look, we don't even have any idea what the fuck is real and what's not. And
that's all that should be full stop, right there.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if this is real, if this is a matrix, if this, if do I even exist? Is there a self? Is there a God? Is there not? Is there souls? Is there not? I don't know.
Yeah. Right. And so we've learned to become, or we're taking steps towards becoming comfortable with uncertainty, and uncertainty is so far outside of the comfort zone of like everyone I know. Everyone is dying to be certain about things. They're like, no, I am certain that the Democrats are the lesser of evil. I'm certain that the Republicans are the lesser of evil. I'm certain that, whatever, take your pick, the Yankees, the Red Sox, whatever.
Right.
And you and I are like, look, I'm not really certain about much at all.
No, exactly.
and I'm learning to become more and more comfortable with that. Like drunken master. Like, it's okay. I don't have to be the master of everything. Maybe there's a way that, you and I, we're not the same person. We complement each other pretty well, I think. Like, you're not thrown off by my wolfness,
Oh no.
And like you're like, I'm just saying, like, most people eventually get thrown off by my wolfness. You don't because you're not, there's no threat to it. you know, and you know that, and you know that there might be times when I'm hurt or scared
Mhm.
or angry, but it'll be okay, you know, and you're like, it's okay, let Josh get it out, you know, instead of
Yeah,
some are like
exactly.
some are like, whoa, 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 I'm around a belligerent homeless guy and I'm gonna just keep my distance because this is dangerous,
Hmm.
you know, and it's like, no, no, this isn't that. This is, yes, I know it might feel like that, but this is like someone who's attempting to like in, you know, the spectrum I do is, you know, the 1 to 10 spectrum. One is intolerance and bigotry, you know,
Hmm.
and the 10, you know, and then the next step, you know, the three is like tolerance, and then the 6 or 7 is acceptance, and then the 10 is embracement, you know, like, so you and I are tolerant of uncertainty. It's
Yes.
borderline approaching acceptance
Yeah.
of uncertainty.
Yeah.
We're not at embracement of uncertainty, although parts of us are at embracement of uncertainty, and uh, just not all of us, you know. And we can accept some of those things, and I feel like that's part of the basis of our friendship, you know, is, and I think it has been kind of from the beginning, you know, since we met like 21 years ago, you know, it's like, wait, it's like, whoa, here's someone else who's in their own way trying to do what I'm doing.
Hmm.
You know, like in that, I'm not trying to just be a musician. I'm not just trying to be a writer. I'm not just trying to be a psychologist or a philosopher, you know, like I'm just trying to be like this more complete human being, you know, a renaissance man or whatever the hell you want to call it. And I do very much feel that Jack Kruse is that, you know, and and I don't get as thrown off by his wolfness, you know, as some do, but you know, I have not yet reached out to him because I feel like I'm not ready to yet, because there are certain ways that I still need to do work for myself.
Of course,
Uh,
it never stops. It's infinite.
yeah,
It's an
it
art
never,
form, right? Everything is an art form, so it's like there's
yeah,
just infinite growth possible.
right, right, and I feel like say like that video I just sent you, you know, with him, he's like breaking down in just in 20 minutes, you know, uh, the, the what's at the root of like the chronic disease and
Hmm.
illness that
Yeah.
is affecting, you know, almost everyone,
Yeah.
you know. And if it hasn't hit you yet, it just hasn't hit you yet, you know, but it'll get there. And as someone who, you know, in all the time I've known you for like a little over 20 years, you know, I've had this illness that reoccurs, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
every 1 to 2 months. And I was just like, I was just assumed like I will never be without this. You know, I will just every 1 to 2 months, I'm gonna have to be in bed for a week.
Hmm.
And and it gets, dude, after like 25 plus years of that, you know, you almost start to like uh submit
Yes.
and be like, okay, I
Yeah.
guess this is just the way it's always going to be for me. And I guess I'm just always going to be sick, and eventually it's going to lead to something like worse, you know, because it'll
Hmm.
get worse, you know. And
Right.
I just didn't think this
Right.
was possible. And and you know, I lost like 60 pounds in the past 10 years or so,
Hmm.
and changed my diet and improved my health, but I only got so far with it, and I didn't understand why I was like kind of hitting a ceiling. And while my illnesses were not as bad, they were still happening pretty much as frequently. They just weren't as bad as they used to be. But once I started doing Jack Cruse's stuff, all of a sudden that shit stopped,
Mm.
you know. And I'm not saying I never get my thing,
Oh, I
but it.
saw a huge difference, and I still see a huge difference with the cold training that I do
Mm-hmm.
all the time. It's I can tell, and yeah, I could go on and on about that. Yeah.
Well, the cold training is part of it, but it's also about waking up and watching the sunrise every day. So I do that every day now.
Mm.
You know, I get up when it's dark out and I go and I watch the sunrise with my bare feet on the earth, you know, and and I reduce my exposure to blue light and indoor lighting. Um, I reduce, I do all these things that he said to do, and all of a sudden, like, I'm not getting that sickness anymore,
Yeah.
and so, and it's tough for me because I'm like, I see Maria like struggling with all these ailments and illnesses, and
Mm.
I'm like, look, you got to do these things that I'm doing. And
Hmm.
if you don't do them, like, your shit is going to start to get worse, you know?
Yeah.
And she's just like, I don't know about that, like, I don't know about this Jack Kruse guy. He's an asshole. I don't like him. And I'm like, okay, he is an
Well, look, yeah,
asshole.
then try it. Try it for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
look, you can change your mind. If it makes you worse, it makes you worse. Then fucking
Yeah,
stop. If it makes you better, it
yeah.
makes you better. Great. Then you find out. No, but I mean, this is what I deal with as a therapist all the time. We resist taking action
Hmm.
because of the inner critic. And the inner critic doesn't want us to take action, just wants us to like stay in our room and not do anything different ever. Don't take
Right.
any
Stay in the
chances.
comfort
Don't.
zone.
Yeah,
Stay in the comfort
absolutely.
zone.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, no, and 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 unfortunately, the where I've gotten to, and I probably would have said the same thing when I was studying Eastern philosophy and Buddhism and stuff like that. But now I see it more as a therapist: is everybody has a suffering limit. There's a
Hmm.
limit until they suffer their internal amount, they will not change. But once the
Hmm.
suffering gets to a certain level, and it's different levels for everybody. Some
Hmm.
people just like get sick one time, they're like, fuck this. I'm
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
everything I can.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Some people, it takes 30, 40 years, whatever, of being
yeah,
really sick until they finally go, okay, enough of this.
yeah,
And they change, but everybody has a certain suffering level. And so in a way, and then in a way, a lot of now my
hmm.
one of my really impactful Tai Chi teachers, grandfather Jeff,
Hmm.
he talks about do not try and make people better. Try and make them worse.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
everybody has a certain suffering level. When you try and make somebody better, their free will picks up on it and goes, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so instead you're like, no, shoot yourself in the foot. And then they
Hmm.
go, wait, fuck you, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, like, don't try and make people better. I mean, if that works, great. But for most people, it doesn't. There's a
yeah,
resistance because we're efficient and the inner critic wants to take over control. So really, it's like, no, keep getting sick. You obviously haven't suffered enough. Keep getting
yeah,
sick.
yeah.
Get sick
Totally.
more. Hurry
Uh-huh.
up. Hurry up.
Because
Get
necessity
more
is the
sick.
mother of invention.
Yeah, absolutely. And necessity means suffering. You're
Yeah,
suffering. You need
it
something.
has to be a need, not a
Yeah.
desire, a
Oh, yeah.
need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I have, because I was like,
Right. No, you got tired of it. You're like, fuck
yeah,
this. I'm going to try
yeah,
what this motherfucker Jack Kruse says. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not
yeah,
your uncle. That's not like somebody you know. It's some guy on the internet you found. Like,
yeah,
okay, fuck this. I'm trying it. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Like what he was saying, because I thought, okay, uh, I was into the functional health thing. I was like changing my diet, getting into more like meditation, relaxation, whatever, all these different things that, and they were yielding good results in certain ways, but there was something that was not being achieved yet. And, I first came into Jack Kruse when he debated that guy on Danny Jones, and at first I was like, this guy's an asshole,
Mm-hmm. And you're like, I
Uh,
kind of like him.
well, well, you know what? I felt like,
No, I'm
well,
giving you a hard time, bro. I'm giving you a hard time.
no, but I no, you're right. You're right to some extent. And the guy who he was debating was the guy who I liked.
Mm,
He was Casey Means, one of the
okay.
Means siblings, and so who's all into functional health. And I really liked his message and what he was saying, and it was in my confirmation bias. And then hearing Jack Kruse say what he said and debate this guy and basically, put this guy in his place, I was like, it so went against my understanding of health
Mm-hmm.
and wellness that at first I was like, I don't know about what the hell this guy's saying. light water magnetism are the most important things to health. I'm like, I don't know about that. But I'm like, what do I know? Maybe he's right. And something he said was just, if you hear something that is outside of your wheelhouse and isn't in line with your confirmation bias, the average person will just dismiss it. But don't be that person. Become the savage, like, if it's outside of your wheelhouse and confirmation bias, then the educated mind will seek to understand that better and then see, and look into it more. And so that's what I did. And after, doing it and trying it out, I was like, holy shit, this stuff works, and then it's like I'm doing the sin that you said that, that guy, Jeff said not to do, was like, I'm trying to help people. And all these people are like, shut up, Josh. Like,
exactly. No, it doesn't work. And you're like, oh, shit. Damn.
Yeah. Because I'm like, damn, I see people suffering. My older brother gets, like me, like I was doing, he gets the same illness.
Well, yeah, it could be genetic related. That could be some kind of genetic thing that got passed down. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like, damn.
Well, the thing I just sent you from Jack Kruse, he explains it in that. He's like, basically, when he did his thing, I don't know if you remember, he did that thing with his fingers, with his hands, right? So it's like, basically, here's what we receive from the environment, and then we have it like we are this perfectly made. We, each our cells, they transport 30 million volts, and it's like perfect. And basically, he's like, what happens is when you don't wake up with the sunrise and watch the sunrise and ground, and you don't do all these other things and reduce your exposure to blue light and non-native EMF, like, because the blue light, the non-native EMF, and all this other the shit that they put in the vaccines and and the shit in the food and all this other shit, it breaks that bridge that he was making with his hands, this perfect conductor. And now, instead of perfectly conducting 30 million volts to where it's supposed to go, now all that electricity starts shooting off in your body because you broke the bridge by doing the bad things and exposure to these bad, these harmful things that break that bridge. Now that shoots all that shit through your system, and each person is unique, like how it manifests. Like, so for me, it manifests in sore throat, fever, whatever, all this shit. Like, for my older brother, it presents in a different way symptomatically, but it's from the same shit, in some degree. Some of it might be influenced by genetics, but a lot of it is just more like these bad habits of being exposed to toxic, harmful things that break that bridge of the conductor, and then that shoots all of this energy through us, and then it manifests as autoimmune disease or inflammation in one part of your body or another, and that will be unique to each individual.
Yes.
But the only way to repair that bridge is through sunlight and through grounding and through setting your circadian rhythms with the sunrise, and reducing your exposure to these toxins, and poisons and harmful things. And then your body will start self-healing and repairing, and we have cancer in us all the time, but our immune system takes care of it, and now your body will be able to handle it. So I probably, whatever triggers my illness, that shit that lies dormant, that's still there in me, but now my body my immune system is able to repair itself and fix itself because of these changes I've made. And my older brother, I bet good money that if he made these changes, the same thing would happen to him that happened to me. All of a sudden, he's not getting sick all the time, And it's like my older brother, he's got two daughters, two little girls, and he can't buy life insurance for them. They won't give him life insurance because of his health issues. And I'm like, Dave, and I'm like, and I go to the best he goes to the best pulmonologist and whatever, best specialist in New York City.
No, but then
And
it's like, well, is it working?
yeah, exactly. It's not working, dude. And he keeps on going on antibiotics, like almost like probably like almost a handful of times a year. He's on some different antibiotic.
Well, yeah, you can't keep taking the same ones.
Right. So he's cycling through different ones, but these antibiotics destroy your microbiome and they fuck with like all of this shit. Like basically, like we're living in the sci-fi novel, and the basis of every sci-fi novel, right, is that like what, and that's assuming there's good intent, which I don't even assume, anymore. But like they're well intentioned. Hey, you know what? If we do X, Y, and Z, if we give people antibiotics, and antibiotics do help in certain ways, it saves lives in certain ways. But in other ways, they get overly prescribed,
Of course.
and the doctors don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So they just say, you need these antibiotics instead of like, no, you need to make these life changes. You need to do that shit that Josh is doing, that Jack Kruse is telling you to do. Once you start doing that, you're not going to need these antibiotics anymore because your body will be able to handle and deal with what it needs to handle and deal with. But Dave is just like, whatever, Josh, you're just crazy and you're a conspiracy theorist. You're not a doctor and all this. And I'm like, all right, dude, I guess you're just gonna die young and be sick and
exactly. No, the suffering hasn't gotten to a big enough level where we're willing to
make the change.
We're actually willing to change because the thing is, I mean, it's just so similar. What you're describing is just so similar to my work as a therapist. I mean, that's just I'm trying to find what do I just need to wait? Is this person just not at their suffering level? Is it their inner critic that's shutting it down, but their inner child is actually like, yes, I want to do this. I want to go after health or my dreams or making art or something. Is there already the desire, but the inner critic's in the way? What is the barrier there? And it's like, man, no, I sympathize with being in that situation where you're like, no, like I have a client that keeps doing they'll do like a lot of cocaine and nitrous, and then the couple of days after that, and they feel like miserable and depressed and want to kill themselves. I'm like, oh, I think some of the doing a lot of cocaine and alcohol and nitrous stuff, like, right, maybe just stop for a couple of weeks. I mean, the problem with cocaine, I mean, you're gonna have to go for at least 3 or 4 weeks before your body starts creating those chemicals again. But it's like, how about just do a few weeks.
Yeah, right.
And then see what it's like. It's like, that's what I would try that with your brother if I was a therapist, and they're like, look, your brother Josh may be wrong, but you know how you could prove that to him? Do what he's talking about for 4 weeks. Do what he's talking about. And if things get worse and it's terrible and you hate it, then you can tell him, Josh, I tried what you said and it was terrible. I hated it. I got worse. I got more sick. You're an idiot. I proved you wrong. Or you'll find out that there's actually some good shit in there and that's good for you, or it makes no difference at all. But either way, give it a fucking try. Try it for a few weeks. You'll know, and you'll probably know sooner than that, to be quite honest with you. I mean, but anyway, yes, I just sympathize with trying to see people suffering and wanting to ease the suffering, but then they reject it because of their desire for efficiency, because of their ego. And then it's the question of, so what's going on? Is it a waiting game now? They just haven't suffered enough. What is the actual barrier there? What is the internal belief system that is backing this up? And then how is there any way that I can have any type of positive change on it? And probably I would say you're probably doing the number one thing you can do, which is modeling the change. You're not telling him to do some Jack Kruse shit that you don't do. That's what so many people do. Oh, you need to do that. You should be a vegetarian. It's like, are you a vegetarian? Totally. No, I love my meat. It's like, what the fuck? Like, shut the fuck up then. You're modeling the change, and that is the number one way other human beings learn. So what I would say is, don't talk about his health anymore. Just keep talking about how great your health is. Just oh man, this thing, I just keeps getting better and better and better and better and better. Well, it's so amazing. I thought all this shit was bullshit too, but holy fuck, you
Hmm.
know, keep modeling
Yes.
it. Keep modeling it. It's the number one way human beings learn.
100%. 100%.
Like, yeah, you're just not sick enough yet.
I know.
Like, of
I
course
know.
you're not going to try this.
Yeah.
Like that lack of surprise. That's another really useful one because people think we're going to be surprised
Hmm.
with their decisions, but if instead we're completely accepting of them, then it can cause people to really think about it. Like, of course you're not going to try this,
Hmm. Right.
and then they're like, wait, how? I thought you were going to try and force me to do it. Like, no,
Hmm.
you just haven't
No,
suffered
yeah.
enough.
Right. Yeah.
You have no reason to. It's not bad enough yet to try something different. So yeah, of course you're not going to.
Right.
It got too bad for me. I couldn't wait any longer. I just couldn't.
Hmm.
It got too bad for me. It hasn't gotten bad enough for you yet.
Yeah. No, exactly. Exactly. And I guess for me, and this kind of comes in my mind becomes relevant for the Jack Kruse stuff and why he's so pissed and why I'm so pissed, you know, is because I'm pissed, for example, because my brother won't try this shit in large part. Well, part of it is laziness, the comfort zone, confirmation
Yeah,
bias,
efficiency. Yeah.
efficiency, and being like, look, if this stuff was true, then everyone would know it. The whole thing that on some big pictures like that you and I, or I'll just speak for myself, has been banging my head against the wall is like that assumption that if this was true, then the New York Times would be saying, you know, if this stuff was true, then these major media sources would be saying it, but they're not saying it. So it clearly is just a conspiracy theory,
Mm-hmm.
whereas like, what, and for a long time, I guess, that was the way things were. But like for something like COVID comes around and it's like and all of those, quote unquote credible sources got everything wrong about COVID, like 180 degrees wrong,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
So much.
like that I'm like, again, like history is a very soft science. It's based on very questionable shit, you know, but this was like hard science. Like, I tell Steph, it's like poker. You can play poker against people and not know their game, but then eventually you play long enough with them and then you get reveals. You know, you'll see how they play, and you call their raise, and then you see what cards they have, and you're like, oh, that's what you had. When you're acting like that, that's what you have, and these tells happen. And in COVID, there were these, it's very much like Bucky Fuller said, about the Great Depression. For the first time, you got a glimpse into the hold cards of the great poker players. Because a lot of these big poker players and these like super wealthy people, they lost all their shit. You know,
Mm.
and you got a glimpse for the first time into some of their hold cards. You know, and COVID was like such a reveal in that way,
Mm-hmm.
in a way that like 9/11 or WMDs and the 2007 crash, and and there are other things, but all those other things, like you and I might know that 9/11 is bullshit, but there's still certain things we just don't know and understand about 9/11 yet.
Of course.
But COVID is like, and there's still some things about COVID we don't fully know and understand, but there's so much that we do know and understand now, that and again, that they got like 9 out of 10 of the major issues, they got 180 degrees wrong. And not only that, they're still refusing to admit that they got those things wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And if they ever do admit in any way, shape, or form that they got anything wrong, it's it's packaged and delivered in a way that's like, all those people who said we were wrong, they were more wrong than us. Even though they were right, they were more wrong than us,
Yeah.
and they put it in some sort of way where it's like, yep, now it's proven to me. I was always suspect about this stuff, but now I know for pretty damn close to certain, you know, like how full of shit they are and how part of their game is creating the illusion of consensus so that, hey, 97% of climate scientists all agree that climate change is real. And then the next 10 years, the sea levels will all be so high that you won't be able to live in Florida or the coast, and then it's like,
Right.
20 years go by and everyone's still living there and everyone's still buying property there. And, and all these predictions they made were just fucking wrong. They were just fucking wrong. But they create this illusion of consensus, and that doesn't mean that humans aren't polluting and that pollution isn't harmful for environment and our own well-being. Of course that's true. But this narrative, this climate alarmism, not the climate change, but the climate alarmism was nonsense. Nonsense. And it all came from the same sources that got everything wrong about COVID,
Yeah.
And it's like, and again, it's just like they create this illusion of consensus, which is very anti-scientific. Science is not about consensus. Science is either you can prove or reprove or disprove something, and that's that. It's not about like, well, 97% of people agree, and the other people that don't agree are just idiots or crazy people, And it's like, no, that's bullshit now. And now we know it. And that's why it's like a lot of the shit's kind of easy for me to see through. Doesn't mean I know all the answers, because I don't. But a lot of the shit is like, because it's ultimately the art of war playbook that they use and recycle over and over again. And everyone goes into it with an open mind each new thing. There's going to be another pandemic or another whatever false flag attack or something, and everyone's going to have to, and then people like me are going to be like, yeah, I'm super skeptical of this, and then I'm going to have run-ins like I did with Jeff, where they're going to get angry at me and they're going to think I'm a threat or dangerous or whatever, just one of the bad guys, just because I'm not willing to like let go of the skepticism, because it's just been proven to me that you do not trust these sources anymore. Before the lockdowns, I was buying into some of the propaganda and I was getting worried, and I was like, that's the last time I do that, that's the last fucking time I take it at face value, and whatever. And I live in an area where everyone takes everything at face value, or almost everyone does.
Yeah.
And so I've got to like play this weird game where I'm not really sharing these things with, these thoughts with most people. I say like, a lot of the people in the neighborhood, because everyone's older now. It's not like when you and I were hanging out 20 years ago and people, at least some were questioning things and some were open to be skeptical about, prevailing narratives. Like now it's like people are old and like the liberals are the most conservative people I know. It's just these things, everything's just become inverted, like there's nothing liberal about them, and I'm just, you look up the definition of liberalism and it's the opposite of bigotry in the dictionary, but the liberals are the most bigoted people I know. And that's why I'm like, holy shit, I once fell for this.
Yeah.
I once fell for this. And I remember Shane saying how bigoted liberals were. And I was like scoffing at him. I mean, like, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah.
Where the left is all against bigotry. Then I was like, oh my God, I fell for it. I got bamboozled, and yeah, I'm sure you got to go, right?
I know. I got to call it.
Okay.
It was awesome, man.
Yeah,
as always.
awesome, man. Yes.
I think I forgot to post last week, so I'll post them both today, hopefully.
Okay. Awesome, man.
And awesome talking with you. Talk to you later. Talk to you next time. I'll be
Definitely,
ready.
man. So great talking to
Keep
you.
sending stuff. I'll send stuff too. It's great when we have a couple of things to kind of touch on.
Right? Totally.
Yeah,
And
it's
we didn't even get
really
to talk
useful.
about the thing that you sent. Maybe next time we'll talk about the milk thing
Oh
because
yeah.
no, it's a brilliant approach. But dude, that's an indicator of where we're at now. Dude,
Yeah.
Israel's brought up like it's buying up all the media and all the social media that it's like,
Yeah.
dude, you have to do it in that coded way now.
Right.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're
Right.
gonna get destroyed,
Yeah.
you know? Fuck. But that was brilliant. That was fucking it was brilliant. That's
Yeah.
the way you
It
gotta
sure
do it.
was.
Thank you so much for sending that,
Yeah.
dude.
I was blown away. I was like, wow. Yeah. Nice job, whoever this person is. Wow.
Yeah, right? Seriously.
It's like a
Oh my
stupid
God.
like food hack,
Yeah,
or something.
totally,
It's so great. It's
totally.
so genius.
Genius. Fucking
Oh
genius.
my gosh. Okay.
Uh,
Anyway, I'll talk to you later.
all right, Dogon.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Yeah, later, buddy.